What happened with Speaker Johnson? Is he sending a bunch of money to Ukraine? Our most valuable ally? Our most important ally in the region? Ukraine?
Yeah, Mike.
Well, you want me to go? Okay, well.
I want you to I think that you might have more background than us two goons.
We're gonna time travel right now.
Oh, okay. To the future?
We're gonna go back a couple of months, maybe 2 months ago, when Biden was pushing through Ukraine aid. Remember the whole package, and they tried to tie it to border security. And what did Speaker Johnson say? Over and over again. No Ukraine aid without doing the border first. Correct?
Yes.
He also said he's not going to reauthorize FISA and a number of other things. Well, the guy is completely flip-flopped. And there's a lot of speculation about why he has, what he's doing right now. And we don't need to get way in the weeds on what he's doing, but he's pretty much made a deal with the Democrats that says we're going to push through Ukraine aid, $61 billion. We're going to push through $28 billion of aid, military aid to Israel, $8 billion to Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific, and then $300 million for the border for something. And they're going to push it all through. What he's trying to negotiate, I think, in the background is there's a threat of a motion to vacate. What happened to Kevin McCarthy? MTG's fired up. Matt Gaetz is fired up. Chip Roy's fired up. Thomas Massey's fired up because he's going back on all the things that he said he would do. So he has the threat of a motion to vacate. Well, he can change the rules and say that you need more than one person to vacate the speaker, or he can team up with Democrats and say, hey, I'm pushing through Ukraine aid. You can't vote to vacate me. And they might agree. So he might keep his speakership, although he's betrayed all the people who put him into the speaker's office and, the GOP primary voters who don't want to send a single dollar to Ukraine to kill more Ukrainian 50-year-olds.
So now, Michael and I talked about this last week. Charles, you were being arrested for squatting in Houston. Mike Johnson flip-flopped on the FISA bill, right? Yes. And we played a video. Yes. Charles, a lot's happened since you got out of jail. He flip-flopped on it, and he said in an interview or whatever that despite the hundreds of thousands, was it hundreds of thousands? Was that right? Yeah, hundreds of thousands of instances where they abused it, of all this abuse, hundreds of thousands of times they've abused it. He said that. Mm-hmm. And then he got, privy to other information and said, well, those hundreds of thousands of abuses, they don't really matter. What matters is that we continue FISA.
Yes.
Right? So what the fuck's happening with Ukraine here?
Wait, what does that have to do with it?
It has to do with him flip-flopping. He's flip-flopping.
Last I watched, and I was going to make that comment. You guys, he didn't flip-flop because he's compromised and they have something on him. He flip-flop because they all flip-flop when they get there. That is exactly what happened. You guys were
Why?
Because they are weak. And they get up there and they get told things and they're like, I got to do this for the greatness of the country. It's not, I don't think they have anything on him in the sense that because when I watched it, I think you guys were saying that they might have something on him that makes him compromise. I don't think it's all that. I think he just got up there like they all do. And they get caught up in this, and you have all these folks in defense telling you that you absolutely must do this because this is going to protect us from, foreign interference. You also had, I think it's Christopher Wray, if I'm not mistaken, who was testifying yesterday or the day before, sometime this week, that, we're afraid of China getting ready to do an attack. So when you hear all these things, they flip-flop. And if you don't have a solid principle, I don't say he's unprincipled, but if you don't have a solid kind of constitution of what you live by, then you're going to flip-flop. And when you make a deal with the devil to get the leadership position, you're going to make a deal with the devil to keep it. And I think right now he's thinking about, should I make a deal with the devil that I know, or should I make a deal with the devil that I don't know?
I think, you said that he's not, obviously he's not principled. If he was principled, then he wouldn't flip-flop. I think that's what principles stop you from doing, right?
On this issue, I don't know him well enough to say he's not principled on every issue, but on this issue, it doesn't seem to be. But the reason I say that I don't want to call him unprincipled is because it is hard. Remember, this guy came from being, somewhat of a backbencher in Congress, wasn't really in leadership, or he was, but wasn't on the news, wasn't kind of like front and center, to now being in these private briefings being told that if you don't do this, the country is at risk. we're going to be opening ourselves up to attack. People are going to die. And so when you hear those things, it's not surprising to me that he might change his position. Now, that's because he's forgetting all of the whole other side of that, and he's listening to one side of the argument. But getting caught up in that, I don't want to say is unprincipled. I think it might be a little bit gullible. And I don't know what they told him, right? I have no idea what they told him. Maybe what they told him is so damn scary that he's like, yeah, we got to keep this. But I kind of
what they told him is we're going to release your internet browsing history.
Wait a second. Okay, wait a second. I hear what you're saying. What could they have possibly told him that if we don't send $61 billion to Ukraine, what's going to happen to America? What could possibly be the explanation for that? I think that's more rhetorical, but you can answer it. I more think the most charitable interpretation of what is happening, which is I might believe, but it's cowardly even still, is that he wants Israel aid so much that he's willing to just forgo the border security and forgo no more money to Ukraine because he's so motivated to get money to Israel. That's the most charitable thing that I can come up with. I can't imagine in any world they took him into a skiff and was like, we have this intelligence that if we don't give $61 billion to Ukraine, they're going to lose with the aid, they'll win, and Russia's going to take over Europe. And he actually believed that. I can't imagine that's possible.
I mean, here's the thing, and I'm trying to find this tweet our friend Adam Lowy shared. So the thing is, this world is so crazy, they could have told him anything. Like, it could have been anything. And the reason I say that is because Adam Lowy shared a tweet from another person yesterday or the day before about the Israel attack. Well, I'm sorry, not the Israel attack, but the attack on Iran from Israel. And this guy said what happened is they sent these. Okay, here it is. He goes, it appears that the attack in Iran was executed through glide bombs. That's important because those were likely launched not from Israel, but elsewhere. In addition, they can't be traced through radar. This goes with the radio silence from Israel. Meanwhile, IDF source told Operation was limited. What the attack was going for is plausible deniability that will allow Iran to pretend this isn't a big deal and react without a major escalation. Iran seems to be playing along so far. That level of like foreign chess playing is like, to me, I get it. I get what he's saying. And it allows kind of Iran out. It allows Israel out. That kind of foreign chess playing is not something I would have just come up with. And so what I'm saying is that in terms of things that could be considered, things that could be happening out there, it could have been anything under the sun, something that I can't even conceive of. And so that's why I'm saying I don't know what they told him. Maybe he did just flip-flop because he's not principled. That is very much a possibility. But at the same time, I don't. We talked about JFK. We talked about what happens with MLK. We talk about all the crazy things that happen in government. It would not be mind-blowing to me if they brought him in there and told him something just completely mind-blowing that I can't conceive of.
You mean lied to him?
I mean, or it could be true. Either way, I don't know. My point is I don't agree with him, but I'm just saying I don't know that I want to necessarily call him unprincipled. That was my one point. I don't know one way or the other if he is unprincipled, but I do know that he made a deal with the devil to get this speakership, and he wants to hold on to it, and he's about to make a deal with the devil one way or the other to keep it.
Usually making a deal with the devil implies that the devil has some dirt on you, right? I think. And he is absolutely, yeah, I don't know how one can be, you don't have, look, if an extreme case comes up and you change your principles because an extreme case comes up, then you don't have principles. It's not a principle. Like, a principle means that you stand on a position, there's a boundary, you have boundaries, and you're not going to cross that no matter what. And that's what a principle is, right? So if you say, hey, I'm principled, I'm never, without significant funding for the border, solving that problem, my principle is I'm not going to send any money to Ukraine or wherever, right? And then things change, well, then you weren't principled to begin with. Right? That's the purpose of principles.
Do you not give in to extenuating circumstances? Like, if you are, I don't want to use a heinous example, but if you're against the death penalty, but something happens so just horrific to someone that you know, and it is confirmed, proven, there's no doubt about it, and you would support the death penalty in that instance, are you unprincipled?
Yes.
Okay. Fair.
Well,
on that specific issue, it's not a principle. It's, if you're willing to make exceptions, then it's not a principle.
Here's a perspective I would like you, Charles, Brad's already here, and some of the listeners to consider. The uniparty, the military industrial complex, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, they bat 1,000. You don't bat 1,000 with just persuasion. Mm. Sorry. Mm. The Boeing whistleblower was just killed. Whether or not he was murdered by Boeing, I don't know. Jeffrey Epstein has a list. There is evidence of blackmail operations. What was that guy's name? Mark Middleton, who brought Epstein to the White House 9 times during the Clinton administration. He was found hanging from a tree by an electrical cord with a shotgun wound to his chest, and the shotgun was 30 feet away, and they ruled it a suicide. All I'm saying is they bat 1,000 for a reason, and they don't just use persuasion always. Sometimes, not always. So if I'm the deep state machinery and I'm like, okay, Mike Johnson's going to be speaker, one of the things that I'm going to put in my quiver is blackmail or fear or threats to use if necessary to bat 1,000. Did that happen in this case? I have no idea. But to speculate that they don't have something on him that's personal or scary to him, I think defies all evidence that we've seen for the last 20 years of how they operate in DC.
So I get my point in saying that was, I don't think that in this instance he changed his position because they have something on him. That was my point. Do I agree with everything you just said? Yes. But I also agree that sometimes people just do things. Like sometimes things are convincing. Sometimes people just do things. And I'm not writing off that could have happened in this situation. I don't disagree. I don't disagree that all of those other things could be true too. But I also feel that when it comes to those other things, that's level 3, 4, and 5. Like they've got level 1 and 2 that they use first. One of them is probably just simply convincing you. And if you're weak-willed, they might easily convince you before they get to that. So I don't disagree with any of that. But I'm also saying let's just not write off that some of these people just go there and they're happy to be there and they're going to change their vote because they want to stay there.
That's what Charlie Kirk is speculating right now. He said that your favorite, Charlie Kirk, he said he's just like the nerdy kid who got invited into the cool kids club, and he's just so excited to be there, and he like wants to stay there that he's just. And I get that. I'm not saying I know why he flip-flopped. I think the flip-flop is so extreme that it's pretty extreme. And as far as flip-flopping goes, it was in such a short time period, and it's the complete opposite, and it's on something as big as $100 billion for other countries the day after tax day. So I don't want to take any reason off the table. I'm not speculating as to what happened because I don't know. But what I see is a guy said one thing, 2 months later, after a bunch of pressure was applied to him, he changed his mind.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm just confused. So we're talking about two issues. One being the foreign aid, and the other being the flip on FISA. I was talking about the flip on FISA.
Oh,
Because that was responding to what you guys said last week. The flip on foreign aid, I don't know what the reason is. Maybe they do have. I have no idea. I would lean towards being more true that they found some way to cajole him into doing that because there's more money at stake. FISA, I mean, obviously it's a huge thing for the intelligence industry, but there's a lot more defense contractors who are like foaming at the mouth to get this foreign aid money. So I would think it would be more plausible in that instance. But just to be clear, my specific comment was in regards to the FISA issue because you guys were talking about that last week.
You said that there's like levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And like maybe level 5 is, they threaten to kill your child or something. I don't know, whatever they do, whatever those crazy people do. And step 1 is just, maybe here, hey, here's what we want to tell you, real nice. What do you think about it? Right? If that's it, and that's all it took, he is not principled.
I agree. If that's all it took, yeah, I agree. He's not at all principled. But there was a book, and I don't know which senator it was. He came out with this book maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I think he's still actually in Congress, where he said that they were about to take a significant vote, and he was walking on the National Mall or walking near one of the monuments, and like 2 people came up to him and gave him like a folder the day before the vote. Do you guys remember hearing about this?
No.
Oh man, I gotta find this. Keep talking.
Oh, got to fill dead air. I don't know if I'm ready for the big time. Sorry, don't give me that. I can't do CNN.
I mean, what are Gates and MTG and Thomas Massey and Chip Roy going to do? Like, are they really going to allow this?
If they're principled, then no. Right? They've been very clear that stuff like this is not allowed, and there will be consequences if something like this does happen. Right? If they have principles, then they will actually take action rather than tweeting about it.
Yeah, but they're thinking we're going into the general election. We have the House now by 1 vote. We need to gain votes in the House. We need to take the Senate, and we need to get the presidency. This will create another atomic bomb in the Republican Party, because what will happen is if they move to vacate, Speaker Johnson's going to have to get some amount of Democrats to support him, and it's going to be what we just saw in Texas at a national level in terms of the feud within the party. So it's not united for November.
Yeah.
I think they might back down.
You think that? Well, then they're not principled. Unless they're lying about their principles, right? If
Thomas Massey is principled.
let me finish. If they say that we are principled on this position, right, then they have competing principles. Their principle is maybe to win and gain power at almost any cost. Maybe that's their principle, in which case that makes sense. Then they're still principled. But if their principle is holding government accountable, not wasting taxpayer money on all these crazy things like war in Ukraine, all that stuff, if that's their principle, then they need to do something about it, right? So make up their minds is what I'm saying.
But they can vote no on the aid. Why do they have to vacate the speaker? But
because
long story short,
said they would.
Some of them said they would. Long story short, this is why people hate the Republican. This is why some people that vote Republican hate the Republican Party. Yours truly included.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, sorry. Go ahead. I'll bring it up in a second. Go ahead.
Did you find it, Charles?
This is why people hate the Republican Party.
Yeah, because we're going to send $61 billion to a war that's been lost for over a year now, that they're never going to win, and we're just killing more people. And then we're going to send $28 billion to Israel, which we haven't got into on this podcast, but Israel's fine. They're fine on their own. They don't need $28 billion of our taxpayer money.
Charles, did you find your video or your quote?
No, it wasn't a video. I can't find it. I'm trying to find what I need to type in, and I'm not finding it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's probably not true.
Google disappeared that stuff.
It was a couple months ago. Man, this sucks. I really wanted to find it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, tell us more about your dreams. I believe you. I'm sure that happened, Charles. I if you find the quote, fine. But we do have a live show that we're doing right now. So
I
know. Taylor Swift's new album drops today. Oh, do we want to talk about that more, please?
No, I'm fired up about it. But what would you want? What do you want, Thomas Matt? Do you want them to vacate the speaker over this? Either of you, both of you.
Over this, no, because I don't know who is next. I feel like we keep doing this. I don't know who's next. If it's Chip Roy next, sure, go right ahead. But if it's
what if it's Lauren Boebert?
Exactly. What if it's Marjorie Taylor Greene? That's what I'm saying. We don't know who's next. Do I think that they should give him a hard time after this if this is what he forces through? Yeah, they should, and they should not kind of advance his priorities, and they should do whatever it takes to make sure the will of the body is heard. But vacating it,
Lauren Boebert. Woo.
What?
the will of the body. Speaking of Lauren Boebert.
Brad,
Keep going.
do you want them to
that was
vacate?
that was the end of what I had to say.
Do I want them to vacate it? Well, Michael, you're much more.
No, don't dodge.
I'm not dodging. Calm down. Ugh. Tell me the consequences. The worst case scenario of vacating the speaker.
We get a worse speaker.
Okay. It's someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No, someone she would be better. Somebody much worse.
Okay. Like
Mike Turner.
Okay. So Mike Turner becomes speaker, and then what happens?
Then he joins with the Democrats on lots of things to help push Biden's agenda, especially on foreign policy and the border.
Isn't that what we just saw with Speaker Johnson?
Yep.
Okay. How is it worse?
It would be worse. It would be more things. Maybe
Okay.
it's at the margins, but it would be worse.
And would that better would that help or not help Republicans? Not that I'm a Republican and rah rah go Republicans, but would that help them in the upcoming election?
Working with Democrats?
If they got a worse speaker like Mike Turner who crosses the aisle and helps Democrats left, right, and center, does that help the other Republicans gain seats? Does it help Donald Trump win the presidency?
No.
It hurts?
I mean, I think part of the what you need to do is continue to have the base motivated, and is the base going to be motivated by people who don't fight for them? No.
It will be motivated against the establishment Republicans for sure.
So does it help or does it hurt? Or I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. So I'm
I think
asking.
on a whole, it probably hurts. Because I think you want your people coming out, because we're talking about in November. So you want your people coming out to vote. And if they have a party that's not fighting for them, they're not motivated to come out and vote. So I would say on the whole, it hurts. In a primary, it would probably help the people who are in establishment.
Michael, help or hurt?
I think it's marginal, but it would hurt.
Okay. Yeah. Then, so do I want it to be vacated? I think I might be okay with taking the risk of, I don't think it's going to be Mike Turner. I think it'd probably be someone else. Maybe Jim Jordan would get in there. I don't know. He was, a contender. Oh my God.
I would love that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, I'm just trying to answer your question here. I don't know who it would be, but if it's Mike Turner, that sounds bad. But if it's someone the same, maybe they would see like, all right, maybe I should stand on my principles and not be blackmailed, as Charles says happened to Mike Johnson.
No, but that's what you said.
Okay. Well,